I don't think my personal feelings have ever gotten in the way of good business. Oh, wait, Vince McMahon is serious? Wait, let me laugh even harder. A fucking habitual liar, and you know why? Because he 1000% did all that motherfucking shit. I'm John Renton with my review of Mr. McMahon Episode 5, Family Business. Let me know your thoughts on this series in the comments, please. Thank you very much for tuning into the reviews, and let's just jump on into it, because we have one more episode to go, and some weird shit's gonna happen in that one to tie everything together, and yeah, me oh my, soon to be down on a lawsuit-filled bayou. Vince McMahon cannot lie his way out of this goddamn thing, but he sure tried to lie his way through this episode. So, Heyman compares Vince's life to his Shakespearean tale. Should have been like Hamlet. Alas, poor York, I threw him well. Ha 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 ha. I love how when Vince McMahon laughs, sounds like the bad translation in the X-Men arcade game. I am Magneto, master of magnet. Ha 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 ha. That's for the people that love video games. I imagine a lot of people probably actually don't get that. But yes, his, overcoming abuse in his youth and, all that, just all the stuff that he did to become a success and basically make himself untouchable in a business. So, Vince basically doesn't like looking back, because why look back? Because the past can never catch up to somebody like Vincent Kennedy McMahon. There was fighting, fighting with his stepdad. Incest, didn't know about that. That's gross. Vinny, I told you to stop bothering the guests. I'd feel bad, except Vince McMahon's a really rotten person. And based on whoever was doing the goddamn incest, there you go. The mother seems to have her own issues, but nevertheless, she died, so that's good. Fortunately, she lived to be 102. But if she was just as bad as he... Oh, God, there's so much to unpack here. Mr. McMahon's mother is still alive. She must be 132 years old. And she has limited capabilities. All she can do is dial the phone and yell. So, basically, Vince doesn't like saying, or the idea that if you were abused, then you would abuse others. I just think that's some kind of cop-out. Yeah, Vince McMahon would never abuse people. Why would anybody think that? There's no lawsuits going on implying that he exerted his power over many people. So, yeah, basically Vince tries to, while not realizing he's totally burying himself by basically being a hypocrite. We see how Shane and Stephanie were on Off the Record, and that Shane wanted to be in the business. He was taking the ring jackets. He was a referee. Keep forgetting he was a referee. Shane was exuberant, and I will say this much. Shane was never that skilled in the ring, but he was willing to take crazy bumps. Got to give him credit for that. Stephanie talks about her memories. We see various clips. Her first appearing on television, the Black Wedding, Austin braining the fuck out of Midian and one of the acolytes. And The Undertaker, go back and watch the Black Wedding. I just want to talk about this really quick, but go back and watch Black Wedding. He's punching Undertaker, and Undertaker's like, you know what? I'm out of here. The Undertaker was over that goddamn character by that point. Her marriage to Triple H in 99. Man, remember when it seemed like Test was going to be on the verge of at least ascending up the ladder, and then he never did? He was never the best in the ring, but he could hit a good gut-wrench powerbomb and also hit a good sky elbow. But Triple H didn't hold a grudge against him. No, why would you think that? They mixed up a lot of clips between 99 and 2002 and would bop back and forth to where if anybody was looking with any kind of critical eye, you would notice, hey, wait a second, this looks totally different. The TV presentation and also the fact that we have all these characters looking all different. So, yeah, they got together in storyline and then eventually got together in a relationship. Excuse me, by the way. I apologize for allergies bothering me. But nothing about China. Nothing about that. But, can't mention China because then people could go on the internet and see pictures and movie and videos of her. That's why you couldn't put her in the Hall of Fame while she was alive, huh? So, Vince wanted to put the wedding on pay-per-view of Triple H and Stephanie, not Triple H and China. I don't believe they were ever married. I think they might have been engaged. No Mercy, 2003. a few days before the wedding. Linda said she would divorce Vince if Stephanie had a black eye or a busted ankle or whatever. Not for the numerous infidelities that he'd already admitted to in an interview that I'll get to in a minute, but no, you do that to our daughter and put her in a storyline, you hurt her accidentally, I'm going to divorce you. Linda is just as bad as Vince, by the way, rehiring Mel Phillips and being part of one of the, if not the worst administration that has, been in a position of power in this particular country. So, nevertheless, Linda McMahon can fuck off for all I care. I'm glad she lost that bid to Senate, in Connecticut. Twice, I believe. Wasted a lot of money when they could have helped out sick children. Or maybe helped out the wrestlers instead. So, Linda was not good on TV. But the father-daughter I Quit match is where I want to go back to. You have the image of Vince McMahon choking out his daughter with a pipe. And Linda was not good on television, but she served a purpose, at least for a bit. They did show her low blowing, JR. Linda worked on the behind-the-scenes stuff. Mother introduced them, I guess. They married when Vince was 20 and she was 17. It's a bit sus, as the kids might say. But, Linda talked about how she grew up middle class, all that. And look, they were meant to be together at first, but it's been obvious that they have been estranged for a while, but they like money and they don't want a divorce, so they just basically I'll live over here, you live over there. Vince did promise that he'd always love her and there'd never be a dull moment. The stuff with Trish, this is something that I might spend a little time on, but it was bad even then. It was. Shane wasn't for Linda being involved. Linda didn't care. Linda was like, it's just a storyline. But the barking like a dog stuff, and I know there are people that like it, and that's fine if you like it. I didn't like it when I was 20 years old. I go, no, like this wasn't good. Yeah, Trish looked good. She still does. She looks great. She's approaching 50, I believe, or close to it. And she still looks great. She's kept herself in great shape with yoga. And there's a lot of good stuff as far as fitness and everything. And keeps herself, keeps herself ready if they ever want her to get back in the ring. Her versus Tiffany Stratton might be good. But Meltzer did say something, and this is like, one of the lines that he said, but men seeing hot women, that they can't get, being demeaned like that appeals to those guys. He's not wrong. Meltzer's wrong about a lot of shit, but yeah, that's actually pretty right. And unfortunately, we've gone so much further in the right direction with women's rights and how women are viewed. And no, we haven't. No, we haven't at all. This ain't White Knight in here. It's like, there are quite a few, even in wrestling now, even though women's wrestling is taken more seriously, a lot of them are still viewed as sex objects. But then he tells Shane, Shane talks about a fight that he had with Vince, when they were wrestling, and Shane would cheat. Like, well, sometimes you gotta cheat, son. And then Shane and Vince at WrestleMania 17 was better than that any right to be. And it was well built. I remember the TV, rewatching the stuff, the last year of WCW, but even watching some of the TV leading up to that, it was well built. The stuff with Trish was creepy. It always will be. But when Linda stood up, that's one of the biggest pops in WrestleMania history. For this, for somebody that was the poster child for how Shawn Michaels would see the present and the future later on, she was able to stand up, and they did have to cut out the fact that Vince basically had to look down at my groin like, kick me in the groin, Linda, kick me in the groin. God damn it, we're on live pay-per-view, pal. And she finally does after like an eternity. It must have felt like an eternity. And yeah, the people blew, and that was good, and Shane won. And now we talk about Vince and Sable. And Sable did end up suing the company. I don't know what did or didn't happen. Am I saying that she wasn't harassed? I mean, maybe she was. I don't know. I also go back to the fact that she got way more money, like for the Playboy contract and other stuff, despite not wanting to really ever be any better, like on the mic, in the ring, doing anything. She just wanted to be an actress when she wasn't good at that. But she still didn't deserve, if she did get harassed, she still didn't deserve that. So Vince blows out the whole thing about the lawsuit and stuff like that, and whatever. She came back to work, and yeah, that still doesn't make it right, Vince. Sable came back in 2003. I remember that. I also know that Sable seemed to age like 15 years and 4. Whatever, her and Brock are happy. I'm sorry. I always hold resentment to Sable, or towards Sable, because all the women that were there that could have worked. I mean, Sunny came home in the sense that she's now in jail and should stay in jail, but Ivory and various others that could have meant a lot more to that company. Yes, Sable drew a lot of ratings because a lot of men wanted to see her, and statistically, a lot of women wanted to see her. So she drew because people didn't have standards back then. So, Playboy interview in 2001, Vince admits to affairs, and I guarantee you he didn't admit to a lot of them. He just admitted to some. But Vince McMahon doesn't own this business. This business owns Vince McMahon, is what Paul Heyman said. They went public in 1999. I'm skipping over quite a bit of this, like I have for episodes 3 and 4, just because a lot of this stuff is well known. I didn't know as much about how him and Linda met and some of the family stuff, but this stuff's been pretty public. So they did WWF New York after getting the stock. I did forget about the WWF Casino. I forgot about that. That was a pretty big debacle if you read about that. WCW in 2000 was tough to watch. Viagra on a pole. I know it was tough to watch because I was watching both at the same time. And WCW, even though they drove me away to the point I would tape it and I would watch it maybe a couple days later when I got up to strength, I rewatched the last year of WCW from the reboot episode all the way to the end. It was a slog. Brian Gewirtz, who just really looks like a guy that I just wouldn't care for, and I don't know if a lot of wrestling fans would. He just looks like an idiot. Kind of seems like he loves the smell of his own farts. But the Time Warner merger, it was a mess. The plane ride where they celebrated buying WCW, that was kind of neat. At least it was the only drinks they had on a plane ride that Vince McMahon was involved in. Nothing bad at all. Nothing about the plane ride from hell in this. Maybe they'll talk about that in the next episode. I mean, I'm going episode by episode. But Vince and Shane, they turned it into a storyline. That actually was fine. That's what led to WrestleMania 17. The XFL debacle, it was doomed to fail. I remember watching the XFL, and I was a football fan at the time. I mean, I still appreciate it now, but the XFL sucked. It was bad. Bob Costas blasted it, even though he says everything has its place. This wasn't, the quality of play couldn't offset the stuff he didn't like. And then we have the interview where, Costas probably had his own agenda, and I have my issues with Costas, but he had every right to go with Vince. And Vince got more and more upset. You know why Vince got upset? Because he didn't like that he wasn't in control of something. A control freak. He wanted to only be interviewed and ask softball questions, just like his buddy that used to be in the White House. No wonder they are so goddamn alike. But then we have the Panda stuff. The Pandas go after Vince. They got the F out. He brought Hogan back. What do you think, Rock? Oh, I fucking love it. They had Icon versus Icon. Toronto's an amazing crowd. That was some good shit. That was some really, really good shit. So, the script had to be changed. And they pivoted, and Rock still went over, but they changed the dynamic of who was cheered, or how, they reacted to the crowd. And then he brings Bischoff in to be the general manager of Raw. Vince doesn't feel that his personal feelings have ever gotten in the way of good business. He's a liar. I go back to the Randy Savage thing. The Hall of Fame thing is one, but he could have brought Randy Savage back at some point. And he didn't. And there are others. There are other prime examples. Now, there are some that deserve not to be brought back, but come on. So, we we see various things going on. The business started tapering off sometime right after WrestleMania 18. I would argue it really started to taper off by the Royal Rumble 2002, right after the invasion angle was done. Austin walked out. They kind of glossed over that. Rock, went to Hollywood. And, we got to build new stars. Ruthless aggression. Cena's hair is incredibly off-putting, is what I noted. His debut versus Kurt, which was a big deal. Look, Cena could go back then, so it was nice to see. The rap gimmick saved his job, basically. Vince's feud with God, they were just glossing over this. They glossed over Eddie's death. Now, granted, again, they will probably mention that in episode 6. But Katie Vick, I mean, good God, that was stupid. Trish wouldn't kiss another woman and like it, and she didn't like the taste of her cherry chapstick, basically, I think is the understanding, or the smell of it. But she lost the title to Mickey a week later. I think that was always the plan. I don't know. It was what it was. I like the Trish-Mickey feud. So, Vince was tough on his kids. Also, he would pitch angles that got rejected. One that got glossed over because Stephanie wouldn't say is the incest angle, but Vince talked about it. Norman, I told you to stop bothering to guess. Shane would leave in 2009 because, and Heyman talked about there was this creative clash. Not while I'm alive. Well, you're not going to do that while I'm alive. Well, take this dagger and stab me or whatever, because that's the only way you're going to get it. Or buy me out like I bought out my dad and then treat me like this and whatever. Okay. Bit weird that. But Shane would leave in late 2009, early 2010. And then he wouldn't come back until February of 2016. Go start his own business ventures. He wanted to buy the UFC. They didn't. I think the UFC would have gone bankrupt with Vince McMahon in charge of the goddamn thing. As much as I hate Dana White and the fact that he's a wife beater. But you can look at the video. He fucking is. You don't fucking do that. But nevertheless, whole point is that now we get to episode 6, which is probably going to be the most damning, maybe. I don't know. That being said, let me know your thoughts on this series in the comments. Please like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Wentland. I'll see you soon.